I'm Scotty Gooderham, originally from Tucson. We're at my shop, AirSpeed Cycles, here in Tempe, Arizona. So I think it started off by making more simple components to bikes, like on a BMW Airhead that I had. You know, the exhaust was just some crazy, huge, you know, old man exhaust on there. So I bought some mandrel bent tubing. This is before I had a bender. And I just laid it all out, kind of like how we do in Aerospace, you know, and you make sure all your cuts are tangent, all that thing. And then, you know, I just like spent some time in the garage and figured out how to do that whole thing, welded them up, and they came out awesome. And I was like, this is really cool. Like, I need to be doing more and more of this stuff. So I just kind of always took on little projects, things I needed to make to kind of clean up the look of whatever bike I had at the time. And then I actually ended up getting a tubing bender from my buddy that we made a roll cage for his car for. He had a really rad, it was like a 67 Dart, built the whole roll cage, had a chromoly, drag chute mount, all that stuff. And then after that, he goes, dude, I don't need this bender anymore. You want to buy it? I'm like, hell yeah, sell me the bender. So I bought the bender and a die, and I was like, well, I want to start making, you know, handlebars. Because I really do think handlebars, they are just handlebars, but they are such a critical component in terms of the overall aesthetics and the feel of a motorcycle. And at the same time, they're the most easily changed component. So, you know, you can be a beginner that doesn't know anything about, you know, making your bike your own, but you want to start, you know, doing little things to customize it to make it your own. So you start with, say, like the handlebars or the exhaust, or, you know, something like that before you go really nuts. So I wanted to make bars that I wanted to ride, that I thought were, you know, rad. And so I started off making tracker style bars, and then actually started making these T-bars. And then it just kind of progressed from there, just all different, you know, I'd make a set of bars and someone would come by and be like, dude, where'd you get these handlebars? You know, I made them. And they're like, no way, really? Yeah. So they're like, can you make me a set of bars? Sure, what do you want? And then it just went in, you know, everything from T's to rabbits to six, you know, everything just like kind of really quick. It really did progress pretty fast in terms of like, you know, from where I started, and just in like within like a few months, it was starting to kind of gain traction where people would see my stuff either, you know, on Instagram or just in person. And then I started kind of, you know, making a bunch of different kinds of bars, and ended up getting hooked up with Lowbrow, and they liked the quality of my T-bars. And then I just started it just started snowballing from there, honestly. So I'd been in aerospace for, you know, 10 plus years, and throughout my career in aerospace, you really learn the technical side of welding and the reasons why you do certain things, and good habits and avoid bad habits in terms of welding, you know, because every part in aerospace typically is NDT inspected and, you know, X-ray or penetrant, whatever it is, so it has to be perfect. And I really do treat every part that I weld on my motorcycle, or for anyone else's motorcycle, the same way. You know, I want everything to be structurally sound, the highest quality possible. You know, I want whoever that grabs a set of my handlebars to look at them and be like, damn, like these are super nice. You know, I don't want there's no shortcuts. I really put everything I can into a set of handlebars. And, you know, I treat everything like, everything that goes out the door in my shop, I want to be proud to put on my own bike. So while I was working in aerospace, I actually started acquiring more and more tooling and equipment. You know, the bender, it started off with a JD squared bender, and then, you know, a little lathe and just shop tools and a lot of fabrication stuff. I've had a few welding machines over the years, and just tried to kind of invest what I could in all my tooling and equipment. You know, it's like that's going to end up making me money down the road, so I might as well just put my money where I need to for my business, you know, because I knew at some point I was going to get to this point. I just didn't know how soon. And, you know, like 16-year-old me, when I was watching these biker build-off shows, and I'm like, man, that'd be badass to do that. You know, 16-year-old me would look at me now and go, dude, you're doing it. Like, this is really rad. Like, this is really my dream to be doing this right now. And it's just been super cool to see it in such a short amount of time to gain so much traction. you know, organically. Like this was no handouts, no gimmies. Like this is all like kind of in a one way or another, like word of mouth. And some of that's been online or just in person, and it just really grown. And it's awesome to see like how I started in my garage, you know, sweating my ass off, making bars and all this stuff. And then now I'm here in the shop, and there's even bigger opportunities, you know, on the horizon. And I'm just really excited to see where it's going to go in the future. You know, like I really do think this is just like breaking the surface. I really think like it's going to, you know, the sky's the limit. As long as I can keep learning, that's a big thing. It's just always learning, never stay stagnant. With every part I make, I focus on the design, and I put, you know, fit and function are first. You know, like they have to look rad. They have to be what you want the aesthetics to be when you're done, but they also need to be comfortable. They need to be structurally sound. You know, I feel very fortunate that it was just kind of everything is like time and place, and I've just like really went all in, and I think it's finally starting to pay off.